Hello and welcome to Horizons. I'm your host, Don Moore. This is a public affairs program of Ohio University Southern Campus, and it's being produced by the students in the electronic media program here at the Southern Campus. Today we have a special guest with us. It's a young man that went to school here at Ohio University Southern, studied in the electronic media program, went on and has had a fairly good career at WSAZ in Huntington, West Virginia, has a love and passion for music, but also has a battle that he's been battling for many years, and that's with depression and anxiety. He's going to share a little bit about his life and a little bit about his battle with depression here in just a few minutes. But before we go to our special guest, who is Alan Brown, right now what I'd like to do is I'd like to toss it over to John Hall, and he's going to share with you what's going on here around the Southern Campus.
Hello, I'm John Hall with OUS Update. The OUS Center for Nursing Education came up with several unique ideas this year to raise money for the March of Dimes. We spoke with several members of our nursing program about how and why they continue to be involved in our community.
We are promoting young nurses to get involved into the community. We are encouraging them to give back and support the resources that have helped us to grow. If we are not providing for our communities, then we have nothing in return. We don't have the resources, we don't have the community establishment, the neighborhood. And so we pick projects to become involved with. Each month we do a project. So we've recently decided to do the March of Dimes, and that's our new project for the spring. We started in February doing some planning, and we decided that a fundraiser, a bake sale, would be a good way to earn money for donations. So we had a fundraiser over 2 days for a bake sale, and we made over $470 from that. We also had a t-shirt contest that we had a student, Michaela Adkins, she's a BSN sophomore. She designed a t-shirt that was selected, and her drawing was selected for the t-shirts, and we're selling those, and we've made over $350 from proceeds for the t-shirt. And then also a class competition. Each nursing cohort, there are 7 total, is competing for a pizza party. Whatever class donates the most money gets a pizza party, and we've already received over $500 in donations from them.
Along with our nursing program, the OUS Electronic Media Club also continued their tradition of community service this year by producing the video for the Dancing with Our Stars benefit in Portsmouth, Ohio. Proceeds from the event went to the American Red Cross. We spoke with EM President Charles Chen about this year's event.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming.
We filmed an event they do every year called Dancing with the Stars.
Somebody once told me the world was gonna roll me.
Where they have different members of the community come and dance. And it's a big charity event. You know, lots of fun, lots of laughs.
There's prior councilman of Portsmouth who could never make a call. I've got them on the list. I've got them on my list. They abandoned thought and reason, and that's why we have no mall. I'd like to make a fist.
It always feels good to do things for the community. You know, charity is a virtue, doing things for others, because, you know, you never know when you might need help yourself. The EM Club's always looking to do different charity events and different productions, so we want to use our talents to help people in the community.
The winner of the 2019 Mirror Ball Trophy, raising $31,430, Kevin Hu!
Finally, congratulations to OUS's very own Sarah Diamond Burway for winning this year's Above and Beyond Award for her outstanding performance as the Director of External Relations, Communications, and Workforce Success. We spoke with Sarah Diamond Burway and some of her co-workers about how her work impacts both students and the community.
I really believe in the students here at Ohio University Southern, and what I do in my role supports the needs of students. Whether it's working for grant proposals, helping with communications and marketing messages to impact our students in their studies, and working with community members on the workforce success side of my job. I think it's really important that we focus and direct our efforts to get 100% output because what we do here really does impact the lives of a lot of people. To be recognized by my supervisors, by my colleagues, and by the university for putting forth that above and beyond effort is extremely gratifying.
She works hard, and she's very smart, very funny, very savvy, and she's an amazing grant writer. I've never seen the full capacity of some of that work. That's new to me, and it's very impressive to see how she collects all that information and rounds everybody up. She is really great at her job, so I'm proud of her and happy for her.
I come from a blue-collar family. My father was a steel worker and pastor. My mother was a homemaker. So I had some great examples growing up of what it meant to serve others and what it meant to work hard. And I've tried to take those lessons from my upbringing and bring those into my professional life.
That's all for OUS Update. I'm John Hall. Don, back to you.
Thank you, John. As I mentioned earlier, we have a special guest with us today, and it's Alan Brown. Alan is a technical media producer at WSAZ, and he is also a former student here at Ohio University Southern. And Alan, appreciate you coming and being with us today. We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to break it up into a couple different segments, but why don't you tell us a little bit about where life's taken you since graduation here at the Southern campus?
Yeah, I feel like I haven't been gone all that long, but I guess it's been a few years now. And while I was working here as a student worker, I took a job at Channel 3 doing part-time work and I think some contracted work. I think while I was still here, I was shooting like a big bluegrass show that they had and everything. And just through that, I picked up a part-time position as a photog, so I'd go out and cover stories and shoot a lot of anything that you could ever imagine. If you got called and something crazy was going on, generally, you know, you got to go cover it, whatever it is. So you get to see some interesting things. But after that, for about 6 months, I became a full-time employee at WSAZ, where I'm now the technical media producer on the morning shift. So my morning starts very early. It's I wake up about 3:30 in the morning, give or take 10 snooze alarms, and I'm there at 4:15, and I get off at 1. So now I direct the 6 a.m. shows and the midday, and that's been kind of my bread and butter for the last 4-ish years now, actually.
6 a.m. That means you get up at what time?
I get up about 3:30 a.m. for that, to get there about 4:15. So it's early, man. It's no joke. It's there's no but about it. It's early.
Everybody sees the bright lights and glamour of television and everything, but there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes. Why don't you share with us a little bit about what some of that is?
Well, I could probably talk for about 30 minutes on just one or two things on that, but really, I mean, like you said, people are seeing the finished product at home, and that's kind of what we do in TV, is make sure everyone at home can see what they need to see, but a lot of our stuff behind the scenes is kind of growing, and even I'm learning stuff every single day about it, which is kind of the cool part of that job too. But we use a system called EMPS that runs the scripts. It's kind of the standardized like news scripting system, I guess, and a lot of other things. But as well as that, I mean, we have robotic cameras. Everything is pretty automated that we're in control of. So like back in the day, if you will, and even in some other markets, I guess, you still have camera operators and you still have audio operators. Well, my job is that. I am the audio and cameras and everything that you see on TV, graphics, everything comes through us. So it's a pretty tedious process as far as individually going in and making sure the show works all the way through. So the news department will script and tell us kind of what they need, and it's our job to kind of make sure all that makes sense and works kind of in a cohesive way. So that's kind of a broad way to put it, but I mean, there's a lot of checks and balances and little tiny things that, you know, if this certain spot doesn't have what it needs, it's going to screw up the shot, or it's going to mess up different elements that you see behind the anchors or whatever. So there's a lot of attention to detail within all of that, and I don't know if people at home will ever see all that, but there's a lot of little things that are making every little thing work on TV.
And of course, I've been in the industry for several years myself, and people don't really realize what goes on. Y'all just introduced a new set.
Yes.
And there's a lot that goes into that,
oh,
isn't
Lord.
there?
Oh my goodness. And like I said, every day is a learning experience, but that is a huge learning experience on top of that. So keep in mind, like I said, everything is robotic, and everything, we have control of all these different automated things that can outsmart you sometimes. And that's definitely happened a couple of times, where the wrong thing will pop up, or the wrong thing behind the anchor, or you'll see another anchor behind an anchor in a monitor. And you know, all jokes aside, that you have to learn that and make it fluid. And if no one at home sees it, that's the point. You don't need to know about us. You know, we're not the important parts. And that's kind of the cool part I like about being back behind the scenes.
Right.
And even here, that was the cool part. It's like everyone can, at home, gets to see that. But I like making all the stuff work. I don't need to be in the limelight of it. It's cool.
You mentioned even when you were here. I remember when you were here and I would look and I'd see you walking down the hallway with a guitar or carrying it down the hallway, going to Dave Sergowski's office, sitting and playing.
Oh, yeah.
You got some love for music, don't you?
I do. I started playing in maybe 2007, 2008, and I stopped playing sports. I got tired of basketball because basketball was, you know, every season of the year. Hot, cold, whatever. We were playing basketball for Chesapeake High School no matter what. And so I picked up music, and it's been crazy the journeys that I've been able to use and just be a part of now, because I mean, get to travel to Virginia Beach and play on the beach a couple weekends ago. I mean, I never would have thought.
You didn't invite me. I could have carried your case or your road gear or something.
Next time.
Okay.
I got you.
All right.
Even if it's just at the V Club or something.
Okay.
Like, you don't have to be on the beach. I can't guarantee you beach trips. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. I mean, now I play in a band called The Dividends, and I've played with a bunch of different groups, and it's just an honor to. I talked to Robert Pleasant the other day, and I talked about how it's cool to see people do what they love, and it's cool to see people doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. I feel like that's what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I get to use that and really utilize that feeling and that emotion every weekend when I'm out playing. This weekend I got a couple shows, I think, and it's just a magical experience. I mean, I can't explain it other than, I get to do what I love.
Are you self-taught? And what do you play?
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about the band too.
Yeah, self-taught for the most part. I mean, I probably started learning just from YouTube when I first picked up a guitar. I can't read music that well. I've very little can actually read music. I kind of understand some music theory, and so I guess self-taught for the most part. It's always fun to play with people that are way better than you, because you always just pick up these little nuances, just like with anything. I mean, just surround yourself with people that are better, and you just tend to pick it up. But yeah, I've been in a band called The Dividends for, I guess it's been probably 3 years now, coming on 3 years. We're working on a second album, and that has taken us to some really cool spots. We have a huge, this spring and summer is going to be so fun. We're playing at our first multi-day music festival up in Fayetteville. It's a mountain music festival. And just being able to travel and see places and meet new people and just show your music to people, there's nothing like it. There's really nothing like it. Last year we got super lucky. There's a radio program called Lex and Terry out of Texas, and they picked our music up through some kind of mutual connection we had that said, hey, you guys got to check these guys out. And they do a program on their segment, and this was terrifying, because Lex and Terry, if you've ever listened to them, they're really crass and they're really honest. So if your music's awful, they're not going to hold back. They're not going to hold back at all. So we submitted, fingers crossed, oh man, this might get completely reamed. And they gave it high praises, which actually led to them coming to Huntington for a meet and greet, which we played in front of however many people. But our music got heard last year for the first time on a completely national scale. And that's just been one of the coolest accolades ever as a musician, just for that many people to hear it.
That's got to be exciting though.
Oh,
rewarding.
Man, crazy, yeah.
Because all the hard work, people don't realize all the hard work that you all put in, not just in television, but in your music, through practice after practice after practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all that goes into it, and we're refining a craft every day.
Let's tell people a little bit about your craft. Tell us about the style of the music.
Yeah, it's kind of that's the first question that people ask all the time, and it's hard to put it in a box, and I guess probably a generic musician answer, but it really is. I always tell people, if they've ever heard Amy Winehouse or a band called Alabama Shakes, it's kind of like that kind of sub-blended genre of it's got some rock in it, but we have a trumpet player, so it's got some New Orleans sound. It's got an R&B sound. We have a female front singer, but then two other people sing in the band. So it's it's a kind of a mix of rock, soul, alt rock, R&B. Yeah, it's kind of just a mix. I don't know. It's hard to explain it really, but it's like I said, it's been an honor. I mean, last year we got to play it live on the Levee in front of I think they said 2,200 people were there, and again, man, it's just we keep getting good feedback on what we're doing, and I always tell the band, I'm no one has to care about our music, but they do, so let's keep it up. Let's keep going. And I think this year, 2019, is looking really, really, really hot right now.
Do you have a website that people go to find out where you're going to be? So if they do want to come out and see you,
sure.
How do they get a hold of you?
It's all social media related. We don't have an actual official website per se, but the Dividends is our band name. But if you look up on any social media, the Dividends Band, that's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, the Dividends Band, you can find us. We post where we're going to be, our music, kind of just in and out, funny little behind the scenes stuff, just to get to know us. And the Dividends Band is where you can find us: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think we have Snapchat, even all that kind of stuff.
Okay, we want to come back in just a few minutes. Okay, we're going to take a little break. We're going to find out about some of the events that are happening here at the Southern Campus. And when we come back, I'd like for you to, you just did a presentation here at the Southern Campus as part of the I Am series. And maybe we can talk about that. Okay, we'll be right back after this.
Hello, I'm Todd Slayton with your OUS event calendar. On April 25th, OU Southern will continue the Writer Series celebrating National Poetry Month with a reading and roundtable discussion with Appalachian women poets. Our guest writers have published in the soon-to-be released book, Feminine Rising, and it all starts at 1 p.m. and will be held at the Student Resource Center in Collins Building on the Southern Campus. The event is open to the public. Hey OU students, you need some relief during finals week? Stop on by the Resource Center and enjoy donuts, root beer floats, and video games on Monday, April 29th through May the 3rd. Students, your future is now. OUS is offering a grad fair and career expo on April 30th from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Mains Rotunda. While there, all students can explore job opportunities, share your resume, and meet potential employers. Plus, you can pick up your cap, gown, and tassel. Speaking of that, the big day all students dream of is here on May the 2nd. It all starts with the nurse pinning ceremony at 1 p.m., followed by the spring recognition ceremony for OUS students at 6 p.m. Both events will be held at the Schaefer Courtyard. From the Schaefer Courtyard to the fairways, attention all golfers, the 16th annual Bernard L. Edwards Memorial Golf Tournament is on Monday, May the 6th at the Guyan Golf and Country Club in Huntington, West Virginia. The first swings start at 1 p.m. There's a team fee of $700, which include green fees, lunch, and awards dinner. Prizes will be awarded on skill holes, and one golfer will get a shot at $1 million. Golfers may register at golf4ous.com.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
Hello and welcome back to Horizons. I'm Don Moore. I want to remind everybody this is a special program of Ohio University Southern Campus, and it's actually produced by the students in the electronic media program here at the Southern Campus. Speaking of electronic media program, we're proud to have one of our former students with us on the show today, and it's Alan Brown. We've been talking to Alan about his job at WSAZ and also about his love for music and everything. But I know you came and presented at a special series we have here on campus called I Am. And would you like to share a little bit about what brought you here to that? And then we'll discuss a little bit about some of the things you've gone through.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. Dr. Christy Barnes asked me to share a story for the I Am series, and that's a really cool series that they're doing for people to kind of get to know different people who are going through different things, whether that's depression or I think one guy was talking about living with dyslexia. So it's a perspective program, and it's really cool that the campus is doing that. And it was an honor to speak and just share just kind of my story with all that.
Do you mind sharing with your audience how did you realize that you were battling something, and how did you identify that, and what steps maybe are you taking? I know that's a loaded question, but we've got 9 minutes.
I can believe me.
But I know because of my wife is a licensed professional counselor, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are dealing with issues, and maybe we can help shed a little light on it.
Definitely. Well, kind of, I guess the interesting thing is I didn't know I had a problem really for a while because I had let depression and a lot of the things that were going on become very normal. Even as a kid, I mean, when I looked back and when I went through therapy and everything, I looked back and said, oh my gosh, okay, I realized that was a problem. Even at the time, I didn't know it. And one of the things that I always share with people is that I'm not really like the candidate in your mind that has problems. I've grown up, been well off, family's great, and never had anything bad really happen to me. But I found myself in 2017 self-harming, cutting my arms and doing a lot of really suicidal things, and really, really, really struggling to maintain the happy face that I put on for everybody. It was easy to maintain a face for everyone, but internally did not match at all. So at the end of 2017, I took steps to go find a therapy place. Mostly just talk therapy, I guess, was this one. But I went to the first place that called me back. It was a place called the Word House. It's in Huntington, and every bit of changed every inner fiber and inner wave of my thinking. And I was able to identify the problems that I was having, because again, I had let this become so normal in my life that I didn't even realize what I was doing was problematic. I was just doing it as a coping mechanism,
right.
Whether that was self-harm or whatever it was that I was doing. It had to be changed. And one of the big things I always mention to people is that I was able to think rationally for the first time, because a lot of things were just very out of control and very irrational. And here are the 4 things that I really learned and stuck with, that just always stick in my mind. I have to remind myself of these even to this day, because it's not something that goes away. Depression and mental health, it's not something that just disappears. It's not like a video game. When you finish it, it's done. It's something you have to sustain every single day. But in therapy, it was, so you have a chemical imbalance with whatever chemicals aren't working or whatever. In my case, it's depression and anxiety, and like probably with a lot of people. So you have these chemical imbalances. Then those create thoughts of whatever, they might be negative generally. And those thoughts become actions, and that's where I was. And those actions then become habits, which was really where I was. So something has to give in that chain to break it up. So like if we were to cut off all the lights in this room right now, like darkness would show up, like would there be no light in here? So what would happen then, as soon as we turn the lights on, the darkness it can't sustain itself, it can't exist. So you have to find a way to break that chain and create like habits of like excellence. Like failure can't exist in a habitat of like excellence. So so I had to go to therapy, and I'm glad that I did, because now I have so many more tools and so much more perspective. And I feel like I'm tapping into like really me now. I'm not putting on a mask, and it's not even about that, but it's just, I know how to grasp myself. I know what to do with myself now, and I'm not self-harming, and I haven't in a long time. So we could get as deep and dark into this as you want, but I mean, I went to therapy and it changed my life. And I started taking medicine and it changed my life, because it changed how I view myself, my perspective, and it gave me every tool on the planet to finally be happier and living.
I'm going to talk just a little bit about viewing yourself and about viewing the thoughts of going to therapy, and sometimes the perceptions people have negative about going to therapy. Oh, they're crazy, and that's why they're going, and things like that. Is there anything in particular that you might want to share that people could look for in their life right now that might want to pause and think, maybe that is me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so different for everybody, but what I found myself doing was it was just these moments of being around people, and even though these were my friends, feeling like absolute garbage because I felt like I wasn't good enough for these people. And even though I knew that I was, and I felt so much less than these people, and I would find ways to isolate myself and find ways to not be around people. And keep in mind, I'm a super social person. And
that's what I was going to say. Like, when you were in school here, would have never known any of this was going on, because you found a way to hide it.
Mm-hmm. That was the duality of it. Was just, this was the game that I kind of played, was like I didn't want all these people to know. And there were a few people who knew that I was struggling with stuff, but I mean, that was kind of the game. I didn't want people to know. It was easier to keep up a face and then, deal with myself later. And like just talking about this right now, I'm learning and kind of going back through my head and saying, man, like I'm recognizing, like I isolated myself from that person, or that was my main thing, was like I felt just so belittled compared to everyone else. And even I never understood it until later. And I never understood why I self-harmed until I went to therapy. And interestingly enough, I mean, obviously that's like a huge sign if you're doing any kind of hurting yourself physically, but I would I would like ask myself, or I would say to other people, like, what are you thinking about when no one else is around? And I would try to weigh those out on a scale and say, and really look at those things, because mine were terrible. Mine were when I was with people, you know, not so bad, but when I was alone and in my thoughts, you know, I would go and tell people right now that that's what you really kind of need to look at and see where those are taking you, because that might be a sign that you may go. I mean, different people are going to cope in different ways, so maybe just think about what you're thinking about, I guess, if that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, therapy has just completely revitalized all of that for me.
What the stigma of therapy?
I mean, even I was scared of it, because there is that oh, like he's psycho or he's crazy, or like one of my biggest fears with it was like, I'm gonna have to do this forever.
Yeah. Like
I didn't want to rely on it forever, and I was like, I don't want to do this because then I'm gonna have to always be doing it. And that's not the case, because I haven't been in a few months. Like I'll go every now and then just for like a touch up, if you will. Yeah. But that's a huge stigma, at least especially for me. I was like, I don't want to do this forever, thinking I'm gonna have to see this guy over and over and over and over again. So, but yeah, I mean, there's so many stigmas, but there is hope. I believe that for a while that there wasn't a way to feel happiness anymore, but there is. You just have to gather yourself and get the tools to do it, because it's possible.
If there's one thing that you could share with people out there about yourself and something that might reach out to somebody, we got about a minute and a half left. What would that be?
You are in control of your life. Whether you want to believe it or not, you're in control of it. And I challenge people all the time and say, like, if you don't go to the doctor, if you don't put gas in your fuel tank or whatever, think about it like this. Like, it's not because you're too lazy or anything. You just use the words priority. So I didn't make this a priority to go to the doctor today, or I didn't make this a priority to do this. It's not because you can't. It's because you're not making it a priority. So that's a challenge for everybody.
And this is really, I mean, you're living a successful life. I mean, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And I follow you on social media.
Thank you.
I've got to admit, I haven't had a chance to really get out to see you perform. I saw you perform here and some of the events at the campus, but not out on the bigger stages and everything. I'm going to do it. I promise you.
Follow us on social. Yeah, man, you got to get out.
And but I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm proud of what you've overcome. I'm proud of what you've done in the industry, as far as the broadcast industry, and what you're doing with your music.
Thank you very much.
So what's next for Alan Brown?
Oh man, great question. I don't know. Maybe a move to another city. Keep your fingers crossed. Maybe. I don't know yet. I really like what I'm doing right now, and I really love the people that I'm with and what I get to do. So I don't know why I'd run away from that, but I also want to spread my wings a little bit. So.
Do I need not to tell your mom that you said that?
She can find out. She needs to know.
Oh, okay.
She needs to know.
Alan, appreciate you being with us
Thank
today.
you very much.
And come back and see us.
Absolutely.
Come back and educate these young people, share with them.
You got it.
And I appreciate everything you've done.
My pleasure.
And what you're doing. That's it for Horizons this week. We'll catch you again this same time next week.
I got some Oxy after I hurt my neck. I didn't know they'd be this addictive. I didn't know how far I'd go to get more.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Never gonna let you go.